In contrast, Russian elections are rigged. Political opponents are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from participating in the electoral process. The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Iraq. I mean, of Ukraine. Iraq, anyway. 75. To launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Iraq. I mean, of Ukraine.
In America.
It takes courage to choose hope over fear. To say that we can build something and make it better than it has ever been before. You have to be optimistic to think that you can change the world. We do it one connection at a time. One innovation at a time. Day after day after day. And that's why I think the work that we're all doing together is more important now than it's ever been before.
This is Aldous Huxley, a man haunted by a vision of hell on earth. Mr. Huxley wrote Brave New World, a novel that predicted that someday the entire world would live under a frightful dictatorship. Today, Mr. Huxley says that his fictional world of horror is probably just around the corner for all of us.
Something in the air, something coming. A storm's approaching.
America today is involved in another desperate conflict. Many Americans aren't even aware of this struggle, so brace yourself.
That wasn't a joke.
Mark Zuckerberg and his wife Priscilla Chan are pledging to spend more than $3 billion over the next decade to work on curing disease. The Facebook CEO took the stage at a Chan-Zuckerberg Initiative event on Wednesday.
This is a big goal. And, we thought that this was really aggressive when we got started. But we've spent the last few years going out and talking to dozens and dozens of top scientists and experts who really believe that this is possible.
Surprise guest Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates also appeared on stage to support the new program.
Why are we doing it? Why have we changed something?
We still
haven't found it.
A coronavirus vaccine.
Is this that virus?
Yes, it's a nightmare.
Steve Chapin, wear your mask.
So they're going to do a Nagasaki with a flu virus.
As of today, we are making the vaccine, and this will happen at an unprecedented pace.
The objective was to sterilize the world.
All my happiness is gone.
You're all going to die.
There'll be no more than 500 million people on this planet. We've been planning this for 30 years.
It's a massive job to give this vaccine. Our military is now being mobilized, so at the end of the year, we're going to be able to give it to a lot of people very, very rapidly.
Can you come in tomorrow?
If you can, you can. If you can't, you do what you can.
2020 could be the darkest winter in modern
crushed into servitude.
Utopia returns this July on 4.
They had a real virus. Russian flu is real.
Yes, it's real. And they're going fat man on it, which is how they get a whole planet to take their vaccine. And if the results of the fake outbreak are modelled on the real thing, well, I think Spanish flu or worse.
And was that one bad, the Spanish one?
It killed 50 million people, Grant.
We have fabricated a worldwide flu scare. We are about to manufacture enough vaccine to inoculate the planet.
We have a golden opportunity to seize something good from this crisis. Its unprecedented shockwaves may well make people more receptive to big visions of change
global crises like pandemics and climate change know no borders and highlight just how interdependent we are as one people sharing one planet. Therefore, we have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path. It is an opportunity we have never had before and may never have again. So we must use all the levers we have at our disposal, knowing that each and every one of us has a vital role to play.
How many will die?
Typically, mortality in a flu virus comes in waves. We hope the vaccine will kick in on the first wave and the virus will be eradicated. If it goes into the second wave, it'll almost certainly be tens of thousands. In a few days, I'm going to call either Paul or one of the other two. I'll give a command that only I know. And in about 90 days, that person will release the most deadly flu this world has ever seen. Everyone will take the vaccine. Everyone will willingly take Janus. It'll be chaos, it will, but in less than 100 years, there'll be no more than 500 million people on this planet. We will have created utopia.
Ordo ab cao Deus noemque ius. A new world order achieved through or arising out of chaos by our divine, that is satanic, Luciferian right.
Utopia.
One of the things that's great about doing science right now is the enthusiasm and interest of philanthropists in supporting science.
Utopia.
Zuckerberg and Chan pledged to put 99% of their wealth toward philanthropy.
And there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve, an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve, an infinite amount of cash.
Is the Fed just going to print money?
That's literally what Congress has told us to do.
Utopia.
Pledged to put 99% of their wealth toward philanthropy.
Mission Control, this is Felix. Is anyone listening for me?
There are a number of impersonal forces which are pushing in the direction of less and less freedom.
There's a poem by Yeats. It's called The Second Coming. It was written in 1919, just at the end of the Great War, and prophetically at another time of pandemic. This time, of course, the Spanish flu. And Yeats wrote, "Things fall apart, the centre cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity." Greg Sheridan says it's a lot to do with the push to diminish Christianity in our Western culture. He wrote this week, and I quote, that the crisis of liberalism is the crisis in the heart of our civilization. It is a vacuum where there should be belief. In what I found the most sobering comment of all, Sheridan said, "The question now is whether liberalism can survive the total severing of its connections with its Christian roots." He said, "I have the most serious doubts. Liberalism survives for a while because the first generation or two are imbued with Christian moral concepts and traditions. But eventually," Greg Sheridan wrote, "it goes crazy as it is demonstrably doing now."
Have you ever wondered what you would do to frighten Lazarus after he'd been raised from the dead? What would you do to threaten him? "Lazarus, I'm going to kill you." Caligula said, "I'm going to kill you." He says, "Ha ha ha." And he says, "Stop ha ha haing, I'm going to kill you as I'm killing all the Christians." He doubles over and uncontrollable laughter comes up for air and says, "Caligula, haven't you heard? Death is dead. Death is dead." How do you frighten somebody who's already been there and knows the one who's going to let him out? But just think of stepping on shore and finding it heaven, of touching a hand and finding it God's hand, of breathing new air and finding it celestial. Of waking up in glory and finding it home. Ladies and gentlemen, your hope and mine in Christ is that one day we will be with God. One day we will be with Him. We look back upon history and what do we see? Empires rising and falling, revolutions and counter-revolutions, wealth accumulated and wealth dispersed. Shakespeare has spoken of the rise and fall of great ones that ebb and flow with the moon. I've heard a crazed, cracked Austrian announce to the world the establishment of a German Reich that would last 1,000 years. I've seen an Italian clown saying he was going to stop and restart the calendar with his own ascension to power. I have seen America more wealthier and in terms of military weaponry more powerful than the rest of the world put together, so that had the American people so desired, they could have outdone a Caesar or an Alexander in the range and scale of their conquest. Hitler and Mussolini dead, remembered only in infamy. Stalin is a forbidden name in the regime he helped found and dominate for some 3 decades. America is haunted by fears of running out of the precious fluids that keeps our motorways roaring and the smog settling. All in one lifetime, all in one lifetime, all gone with the wind. Behind the debris of the fallings of our solemn supermen and imperial diplomatists lies the gigantic figure of one person, because of whom, by whom, in whom, and through whom mankind may still survive, the person of Jesus Christ. Isaiah calls him Wonderful Counselor. Peter looks at him and says, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." The Apostle Paul, Saul at that time in Acts chapter 9 says, "What shall you have me to do, Lord?" Thomas raised his hand and touched his side and said, "Thee, my Lord and my God, ho kuriosmu, ho theosmu, the Lord of me, the God of me." When Pilate looked at him and said, "Art thou the Christ?" he says, "You have said it." When the priest looked at him and said, "Are you the Son of God?" he says, "You're right in stating that I am the Son of God." And in John chapter 14 he says, "In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you, that where I am you may be also." Lord, where are you going? If we don't know where you're going, how can we find the way? I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. No man comes unto the Father except through me. Show us the Father, Lord. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Philip, have you been with me so long and you don't know that when you've seen me, you've seen the Father? I and my Father are one. And he who believes in me, greater things than these shall he do.